as a Muslim, we have over 250, 260. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Just bear with us, the projector is coming right now.
Okay, the projector is coming right back. So actually, before, like in the old days, we don't have this environmental movement because why? Everybody's still, living accordingly to the nature. And as Muslim, we have over 250, 260 ayat in the Quran mentioning about nature and environment. And so what's happening now is we have this global phenomenon. And this is, I'm just listing the environmental facts. I'm not going to explain one by one. It's going to be another lecture. So what's happening now is the increase of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere, which is like our atmosphere is polluted and it's creating a global warming and climate change. That's why we are experiencing a lot of disaster over the last years. And then also like ecological footprints is increasing. What is ecological footprints? I will explain a little bit in my next slide. And then because of that, our global Earth temperature is increasing, and the ice in the North Pole and South Pole and in other glacier area is actually melting, which is creating the increase of sea level around the globe. Can you, next. Yes, so like, where is the carbon dioxide coming from? Like, most of them is from the use of fossil fuel. Globally, we still use this, fossil fuel like oil, gas, and coal for our energy sources, like what we use for our transportation, our cars, and also with our electricity power plant, and also with all the industries around the globe. And also a little bit on land use change. What does it mean? It's actually carbon dioxide can be sequestered only from trees. Only trees can absorb carbon dioxide. But then a lot of forest in the world has been cut, especially in the rainforest countries. Like, I'm from Indonesia. Sister Jamila made sure that I mentioned that I'm from Indonesia. So rainforest countries is like Indonesia, Brazil, and Congo. That have a massive rainforest, but they are in developing country. So they are developing. That means they need economic generation, and they cut the trees because of that in the name of development. But actually, that means we are living releasing our carbon dioxide to the earth even more. So that's the reason. And then where it's going, where does the carbon dioxide go? 50% is in our atmosphere, half, and then the other 26, 25% to our forest, and then the rest is to our sea, because we have algae, which also function like the trees in the ocean. Now, this is what I was talking about, ecological footprint. So if you can see, and this is a table, don't worry about the table. I'm not talking about the detail. But everybody can see on the top, USA ecological footprints, 5.3 planets. What does it mean? It means if everyone live like the way people in the United States live around the world, then we need 5.3 planets. More than 5 Earths. But how many Earths do you have? 1. So that is a big problem. So, and then go on, Canada is 4 planets, and then the UK is 3 planets. Can you just click? Before. Okay, so ecological footprint is a measure of human demand on the Earth ecosystem. For example, we eat today. Where do the food come from? Oh, from the bakery. Yeah, from the bakery, right? But the bakery, where's the flour coming from? Where's the jam coming from? That's from the fruit. Is that sourced local? Do we ever ask ourselves where do we get our food? That's just the food. How about our computer? Where does it come from? China. Okay, China. And then where's the material coming from? how many energy does it take? Like, does it really, like, do we actually take care of our earth as, the same way that we are taking it for our needs? So that's the question to ourselves. Okay, and is that true, what I'm saying? So this is the reality check. Year 2011, 1 billion tons of food being wasted in the world, in the mostly developed world. So it's mostly like in the Western world, which is actually the same amount of food that we need to feed the hunger in the world. Mm-hmm. Isn't it ironic? For me, that's very ironic that we should do something about this. This is, like when people talk about environmentalism, actually it's not just environment. It's about justice system in the world. And then the next is, this is in the United States, at home. 73 billion disposable cups and plastic bottles in 2010 goes to the landfill. So actually, like, we create a lot of waste. I'm giving this because we live here in this country, and this is like how people, this is like a way of life, whereas we never like really see like what other people in the other part of the world has to suffer for, to fulfill our needs over here.
Good point.
So this is like what people talk, of course, like this is like dramatic global collapse, like because throughout the history, like we see in civilization there, like civilization is going down because of the environmental crisis. But back then, it's still in the small scale. In nation, like the Egyptian, how they fall down, like in nations. But now we are talking about the global. As we can see, just past few months ago, there's disaster in New York, New Jersey, on the storm, and then like Katrina several years back. That's this is just at home here in the United States. How about in any other country? In South America, it's almost like every year they're suffering landslide, flooding, and a lot of like thousands and millions of people just lost their homes and their their properties. But that's just homes, properties. Okay, that's just things. How about lives? That's a lot of we lost a lot of lives also, and that's because like we have like poor choices on the use of technology and also like overconsumption, but like there is hope. What is the hope? Like we have to change our behavior. Maybe like we say, oh, if I change, I'm only a one person. I'm not going to make a difference in the world, but if that one person doing something good and actually another million people actually doing the same thing, isn't it going to make a difference? Of course, inshallah. So next. So what is the Islamic teaching about this? I'm just going through. Next, yeah, and we have our first ayat is Iqra bismi rabbikal ladzi khalaq. What does it mean? Like Iqra, like read. Like what do we read actually? We read the ayat in the Quran, but also like the ayat in the nature. That sometimes we are so disconnected. Like we read the Quran, but what does that mean in our life? So this is like I'm trying to like link this with several friends who are also Muslim environmentalists. We are minority, by the way, in the environmental movement. The Muslim are minority in the Muslim community. We are the environmentalist is minority. So, but we want to like, especially for the young generation, we want to revive this. The connection of the ayat from the Quran and the ayat in nature. Next. And what I'm going to like give like 3 main points, like how do we actually like balance our life in nature in Islam. First, like we are the Khalifa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that we are the Khalifa upon this earth. So what does it mean? Like we have to take care of our earth, maintain, guard it, like not to do like bad things about it. So like love the earth. And a lot of people said environmental movement is such a new age. No, it's not a new age. It's an Islamic way. So I say that that to my other peers, our colleagues